When they made the decision to give up your reputation in exchange for a momentary moment of approbation, they had no idea how profoundly your absence would reverberate. You are indelible. This reality continues to echo throughout their life, serving as a persistent reminder of the error in judgment they made. The false validation that they sought has crumbled like sand between their fingers, leaving them to stand alone in the aftermath of their treachery. On the other hand, you have emerged from the shade cast by their deception, your light unaffected by their efforts to extinguish it. Their remorse comes in waves, sometimes in the stillness of moments when memories come to the surface, and other times in the sharp understanding that the acceptance they bought you for was worthless. As soon as the topic of loyalty is brought up in conversation, your name is caught in their throat. Your tenacity continues to haunt them. They have been left abandoned with nothing but the knowledge that in their attempt to belittle you, they have only revealed their own weakness. The bus that they threw you under has long gone, left the scene. You will forever be carved in their minds, not as a victim, but as the indelible force that they mistakenly disregarded for something that never really mattered to them. It is never an accident that someone betrays you. Rather, it is a decision, a purposeful choice made at a moment that changes everything. And in that time, they had the opportunity to either stand by your side or to trade your name for clout. Betrayal is never an accident. They made the decision to betray, and now they are forced to deal with the consequences. They were under the impression that it was a simple choice, one that would get them closer to accepting the approbation that they so much desired. You, who had been there for them, in their darkest moments, who had stuck by them when others turned away, were more valuable to them than your trust, your devotion, and your years of unflinching support. They knew that the validation of others was more valuable than any of those things. They never paused to consider what they were actually giving up at the time, and as a result, you were reduced to a pawn in their chase of something that would only be fleeting acceptance. They were able to persuade themselves that it was irrelevant. Perhaps they believed that you would not notice, or that you would be too forgiving and understanding to walk away from the situation. Perhaps they believed that they could perform damage control later on, or that they could fix things whenever it was convenient for them to do so. Betrayal, on the other hand, is not something that can be undone. Once that boundary is crossed, there is no opportunity to turn back. And so they went ahead and did it. They threw your name into conversations where it had no business being. They twisted narratives to fit their goal. And they sacrificed your reputation in order to garner favor in a crowd that didn't really care about them. It could have been a subtle act, such as making a sarcastic remark, laughing at your expense, or showing silent complicity when others talked against you. Alternatively, it could have been an obvious act, such as a frontal attack, an intentional smear, or a choice to side with those who attempted to bring you down. Regardless of the shape it took, the outcome was the same. They misjudged you. They considered you to be expendable and replaceable. They believed that losing you would be a minor inconvenience in exchange for the acceptance of the individuals whom they so desperately desired to impress. They were under the impression that they could rewrite the story, that your presence in their life was something that they could remove without any repercussions. However, what they failed to realize was that you are not just anyone. You are the kind of person whose absence is felt. Your energy, your loyalty, and your presence are all things that leave a mark. The absence that you leave behind is indisputable, and they are now aware of the hole that you have left behind. They were under the impression that they could take your place, but they are starting to realize that there are some people who simply cannot be replaced. They made a decision that appeared to be simple at the time, but now, with each passing day, regret begins to creep in. The approval that they were looking for can be described as empty. The people that they attempted to impress have moved on, and they have not offered anything in exchange for the sacrifice that they made. Furthermore, you are no longer there to pick up the pieces. They gambled with your loyalty and lost, and now, as they sit with the weight of their own actions, they know the reality. They exchanged something real for something meaningless. They gambled with your loyalty and lost. The fact that they betrayed you is a mistake that they will have to live with for the rest of their life, since they were unable to recognize it before. They did not betray just anyone. They betrayed you. You are here for a reason. If you feel the call, answer it. Click Join to unlock exclusive content, deep insights, and a powerful community. This isn't just a membership, it's an awakening. Step into your divine purpose. Join the chosen. The concept of loyalty is not something that everyone is familiar with. There are some individuals who are so preoccupied with their need to belong that they are willing to abandon even those who have been there for them the most. The source of their treachery is not hatred or malice. Rather, it is weakness, a desperate and pitiful urge to be accepted by people who don't really care about them. This is the foundation of their transgression. This individual has never been capable of standing on their own. They go through a process of shape-shifting based on the people they are around by, becoming whatever they believe will be the most accepted at the time. In your presence, they pretended to be a friend. They shared laughter with you, confided in you, and promised their allegiance. However, when they were in the company of other people, particularly those whom they needed approval from, they transformed into an altogether different person. All of a sudden, their loyalty began to weaken. All of a sudden, your name became something that they could throw around for cheap chuckles or easy social currency. The reason they betrayed you was not because they had a hatred for you. Rather, they betrayed you because they were afraid of being excluded. They wanted to be accepted by people who don't even think about them, and their commitment to you was never stronger than their drive to fit in. They wanted to be welcomed into the group. Now, they believed that by sacrificing you, they would be able to win a spot in that circle, and that by fitting in, they would be protected from ever feeling alone. However, in their efforts to belong, they ended up losing the one person who truly cared about them. Their sense of self is so fragile that they will do anything to avoid standing out, even if it means turning against someone who has always had their back. Weak people like them will always be slaves to the ideas of others. They will always be determined by the judgments of others. They were under the impression that if they betrayed you, it would make them appear to be one of them. They believed that it would make them more likable and more acceptable. The unfortunate reality, however, is that the individuals whom they attempted to impress never genuinely respected them. Due to the fact that you knew them better than anybody else, this betrayal caused such a profound wound. You witnessed the genuine version of them, the one that they attempted to conceal from the rest of the world. You witnessed their anxieties, their failures, and their problems. Despite the fact that you provided them unconditional commitment, when it came time for them to make a decision, they chose to abandon you in favor of folks who wouldn't even notice if they vanished tomorrow. And now they are experiencing the weight of that choice. The validation that they sought makes them feel hollow. The people from whom they wanted approval have already moved on. And the person who actually saw them, the one who stuck by them when no one else did, is no longer there. They are now sitting with that revelation, and they are revisiting the memories in their minds, wondering if it was worth it. Was the approval that they earned in that time sufficient to replace what they had lost? The fact that they are aware of the solution weighs heavily on them each and every day, despite the fact that they are attempting to blend in with yet another throng. They are carrying the weight of their own decisions because they have given up something real in exchange for something temporary. Due to the fact that regardless of where they go or who they try to impress next, there is one reality that will always be true. They betrayed the proper individual. The truth has a way of coming to the surface, regardless of how thoroughly they try to bury it, and betrayal is never able to remain hidden for an indefinite period of time. It is possible that you address them directly, compelling them to look you in the eyes and acknowledge what they did. Alternatively, it is possible that someone else exposed them, unraveling their falsehoods and forcing them to face the reality of their actions. In either case, they are no longer able to avoid the truth. They have been apprehended, and now their guilt is becoming apparent. In the beginning, they made an attempt to deny it. They twisted the story, played the role of the victim, and pretended that you were responding too strongly. They pretended that they never intended to hurt you, made excuses, or claimed that it was a misunderstanding. But on the inside, they were well aware of what they were doing. They were just trying to cover it up. You are not here by accident. If you feel the pull, the knowing deep inside that you are chosen, this is your moment. Click the super thank you button and give $50 or more to unlock deeper insights, exclusive content, and a path that aligns with your divine purpose. This isn't just a contribution, it's a declaration, a step toward who you were meant to be. Answer the call, walk with us, and step fully into your destiny. Your journey begins now. They understood they were betraying someone who had only ever been faithful to them when they threw you under the bus. They knew exactly what they were doing. After the denial strategy had failed, they attempted to deflect the blame, and all of a sudden, they behaved aloof. A person who had previously confided in you, laughed with you, and relied on you for support was now avoiding your company as if they were a child who was doing something wrong. Due to the fact that they were too busy to talk to you and too overwhelmed to confront the matter, they stopped taking your calls. Their responses were ambiguous and unfriendly. However, you were aware of the fact that they were not busy. Rather, they were embarrassed. They suddenly became overly pleasant and very eager to demonstrate that nothing had changed. Praises that had previously been genuine now reeked of desperation. And if they weren't avoiding you, they were overcompensating for it. They tried to behave as if nothing had happened, but you were able to see through their attempts to act as if nothing had happened. They laughed too loudly at jokes, forced discussions that had previously flowed effortlessly, and tried to act as if nothing had happened. Every awkward pause, every uneasy gaze, and every strained attempt to rebuild what they had damaged were all instances in which their guilt was readily apparent. As if it were a storm cloud, the weight of their betrayal hangs over them like a shroud of darkness that cannot be avoided. They see a post, a recollection, or a reminder of the person they dissed, and the pain of regret hits them like a punch to the belly. They hear your name in passing, and it causes their stomach to plummet. They have come to the realization that betraying you was never a fleeting moment. Rather, it was a stain that will remain on their conscience forever. Despite this, they are unable to apologize because they are so proud of themselves. They tell themselves that it is too late, that even if they did try to apologize, you would not forgive them. They are able to persuade themselves that ignoring it is simpler than confronting you, and that it is simpler than saying that they have lost something that they will never be able to get back. As a result, They keep their guilt to themselves. They steer clear of specific locations, specific individuals, and specific conversations that could potentially bring up memories of what they did. Their behaviors betray them, despite the fact that they pretend they don't care. Every unanswered message, every awkward encounter, and every moment of uncertainty all point to the same truth. They are aware that they were wrong. The difference between you and them, however, is that you do not require their apology in order to move on with your life. You already recognize them for what they are. You are aware that their avoidance, their quiet, and their shame are not your responsibility to bear. Those individuals are the ones who are plagued by the consequences of their decisions. They are the ones who are forced to bear the burden of their own betrayal. You, on the other hand, have already liberated yourself from it. Let's face it, the systems have been rigged from the very beginning. And if you have your eyes open, you can feel it. The walls are closing in. So let's be honest about what we're doing. Living paycheck to paycheck at the mercy of the market. They possess the land, the profits, and the rules, and they keep you busy while they stack the cards. However, we don't beg the house for scraps. We create our own table. That is a game that is designed for you to lose. In the beginning, they were able to persuade themselves that they had achieved something by betraying you, whether it was prestige, approval, or a momentary feeling of belonging. As they stood among their so-called friends, they had feelings of power and acceptance, and they believed that they had triumphed. However, what they failed to recognize at that precise moment was that each momentary moment of validation that they received came at a price, and now the burden of regret is crushing them, mostly due to the fact that the individuals that they attempted to impress do not care, and they never did. As swiftly as it arrived, the acceptance that they sought fled, leaving them feeling even more empty than they had been before. They exchanged something valuable, your commitment, your presence, and your authenticity, for something that is meaningless. And now, as time passes, they are forced to confront the reality that what they lost was worth a great deal more than what they acquired. At first, they made an effort to disregard it. They persuaded themselves that moving on would be simple and that your absence would not be significant. However, life has a way of revealing our mistakes in the most harsh ways possible. They are constantly reminded of you, whether it be through old messages, memories that they have in common, or the manner in which others speak of you with reverence, while their own name becomes increasingly irrelevant. When they hear stories about your achievements, your resilience, and your capacity to move forward without them, it makes them feel envious because you did not merely survive without them. You thrived in spite of their absence. They were anticipating that you would snap under the pressure. They believed that you would plead for an explanation, demand an apology, or attempt to win them back. The inconceivable thing that you did was to walk away from the situation. You did not engage in a struggle for their friendship, their acceptance, or their validation. You did not attempt to bring yourself down to their level. Rather, you just abandoned them to cope with the disaster that they had caused. That silence, on the other hand, says more clearly than any confrontation could ever hope to. Now, they are haunted by what they have lost. The inside jokes that no longer have any significance. The conversations that used to flow easily but will never happen again. And the sense of safety they experienced when they were around you, knowing that they could be themselves without fear of being judged. Because they believed that everything would always be there, they took it all for granted. However, you were never something that they could throw away. You were never an option that they could throw away and then return whenever they wanted. As they sit in the wreckage of their decisions, They are aware of the fact that you were irreplaceable throughout their lives. They watch from the sidelines as you continue to move forward, as others realize your worth in ways that they never did, and it burns them because they know that no one will ever offer them what you did. No one will care for them the way that you cared for them, and no one will stand by them the way that you did. The saddest part is that they did it to themselves, despite the fact that they have lost you, and that loss is irreversible. They felt that they could take your place. They believed that time would erase your presence. They believed that new connections, new relationships, or new distractions would fill the hole that you left behind. But they have come to realize that you are irreplaceable. What you brought into their lives is more important than who you were to them. It is not simply about who you were to them. Your vitality was unparalleled. You did not merely exist in their universe, rather you amplified it altogether. It is not something that people forget about you because of your loyalty, your intelligence, and your capacity to see through people's masks and still choose to love them anyhow. And now, as they live with the repercussions of their decisions, they have come to the realization that they will never come across another individual who is similar to you. They see it in the people who are attempting to take your place. Regardless of how hard they look, they are unable to find someone who can replace you. In spite of the fact that they may claim to have moved on, surround themselves with other people, and make new connections, they are nevertheless aware of the difference in emotional state. There is a lack of depth in the chats. The laughing does not have the same impact, and the link is weaker. It is false and a bad copy of what they actually had with you in the past. Because you did not merely provide them with friendship, rather, you provided them with something that is genuine. Your very presence was a powerful force. You offered solace, steadiness, and comprehension to the situation. Every time they talked, you paid attention to what they had to say. Whenever they required assistance, you were there for them. You were able to see them for who they really were, not just the version that they portrayed to the world. And this is the reason why the wound that you caused is one that will never completely heal. People who were formerly your ex-partners continue to worry about you. Old pals are feeling the weight of your absence, and even family members who took you for granted are beginning to regret their decisions. The reason for this is not that you attempt to keep them. Rather, it is that people are unable to get past the fact that you are there. They are able to sense it in the quiet moments when nostalgia comes up on them and forces them to remember. They look through old images, reread conversations from the past, and feel the stinging pain of what they have lost. They hear your name in talks and feel a twist in their gut because they are aware that you are still brought up in conversation, that you are still respected, and that you are still adored, and that they are just a fading memory in your story. There was a time when they thought they could get rid of you without any repercussions, but now they realize what everyone else already knew. You cannot be replaced, and the realization of this fact will follow them about for the rest of their lives. However, despite the fact that it was unpleasant, this betrayal was also a vital lesson. Your level of loyalty is not something that everyone is equipped to handle. Not everyone deserves to have access to your energy, your kindness, or your presence, and you now have a better understanding of this than you ever had before. The person who betrayed you believed that they were making a decision that would solely have an effect on you, but in truth, they exposed themselves. They demonstrated to you who they really were, someone who would give up something irreplaceable in exchange for a fleeting moment of approbation. Additionally, when someone reveals their actual nature to you, you should believe them the very first time. When you were younger, you had a tendency to give people the benefit of the doubt. You believed that if you were loyal enough, nice enough, or understanding enough, people would value you in the same way that you valued them. However, this is no longer the case. One can now understand that loyalty is not a language that is spoken by everyone. There are some individuals who only recognize your worth after they have lost you, but this does not indicate that they are deserving of a second chance. You no longer feel the need to seek closure. Their remorse is sufficient evidence. The manner in which they avoid you, the manner in which they pause when your name is spoken, and the manner in which they sit with the weight of what they have lost are all examples of your closure. You do not require an apology, and you most certainly do not require validation from a person who has never merited you in the first place with their actions. This was a painful experience, but it was also a gift. It taught you discernment. It taught you to stop devoting your energy to those who don't appreciate it. It taught you that not everyone who smiles in your face is a friend, and not everyone who pretends to love you understands what love truly means.